To East Lansing we go, a new era for the Michigan State Spartans. Jonathan Smith, did he make a mistake? Because here's the way I look at it. That's Matt Sheehan, by the way, joining me here, Locked On Michigan State Spartans, making his inaugural appearance here on Locked On College Football. Jonathan Smith took that Michigan State job right after they lost to Oregon in the game formerly and now once again known as the Civil War. But since then, jobs that came open and were subsequently filled included places like Washington, where he was an offensive coordinator. And Washington out west is where Jonathan Smith has really cut his teeth and whatnot. I think the argument is pretty doable. I think it's pretty reasonable to say by jumping at the first opportunity, he missed out on potentially landing a bigger job than Michigan State.
And I'm in a corner here because, this is a hard debate to have from this side because, just like you said, familiarity with not just the West Coast, but specifically Washington. But as far as jumping at the first good opportunity, well, it's a hell of an opportunity. I mean, Michigan State, just in revenue, if that's something that gets you fired up, top 20 in the nation. Like, funds are not going to be an issue at Michigan State, and you have the brand new football building that just opened up. So all the facilities, all the money, it's there to begin with. Now you go to the roster. There's a lot of things to say about Mel Tucker. It was not all sunshine and rainbows at the end of that tenure, but he did recruit some decent talent, some young talent that's still on this team. And one thing that Jonathan Smith did a great job with, which is what we'll get into in a little bit here, is retaining a lot of the roster that was in the portal. Not just, portal players that were going because, they couldn't find playing time at Michigan State or they weren't wanted anymore. Like, no, there were some guys that were Power 5 players being sought after by other Power 5 teams that he was able to retain. So whether it's facilities, what the roster already is right now, and, well, just the atmosphere of the Big Ten being one of those programs that are going to be one of the big 36 teams in the nation. It's not a bad first job to jump towards, in my opinion. But, I can't sit here and be like, I'm sure. I do wonder if he goes to bed at night thinking, maybe another month's wait would have been there. But then again, there's no telling that job was ever going to open. So
hindsight is always 20/20, and you can't know what was going to happen. But certainly, he's an odd fit at Michigan State. Doesn't mean it can't work. But just because he doesn't have ties to the Big Ten the way he does out west. He's an Oregon State alum. He was the OC at Washington. Like, that's really where his footprint has really been as a coach, and he's going to a brand new area. He's got to, ingrain himself into a new fan base amongst people that maybe don't know him super well. Now, at the end of the day, you know what makes you a good fit as a head coach? Winning football games. Yeah. And Jonathan Smith has shown as a head coach he can win football games. He had Oregon State fans in a place where they were disappointed with an 8-4 season this year. That's a program that won one game the year before he got there. So the guy knows how to coach, and the guy knows how to be, as well, the number 2 program in the state. I mean, Oregon State was number 2 to Oregon for a long time and still is, but guess what? Michigan State, well, they haven't won a national championship. They haven't been to the playoff recently. They're number 2 to Michigan. So from that angle, it definitely does make some sense. But I just wonder if he looks at that Washington job and thinks, boy, I think the cupboards were probably a little bit more well-stocked there, even with DeBoer leaving and all the guys going to the NFL. I wonder if Smith wouldn't have been someone, as opposed to what Jedd Fisch has done, who wouldn't have been able to step in and say, hey, we want to build something here. We can win games. And if more guys wouldn't have stuck around, and I'd rather have Aiden Childs than Will Rogers as my quarterback.
Yeah, and one thing that plays anywhere is just how he spots talent, ones that fit his system, and develops them. And we're going back in the time machine here to the Mark D'Antonio days here at Michigan State. Now, it didn't work his entire career, of course. Towards the end, it wasn't always sustainable to just recruit 3-stars over and over again, hope that you hit a diamond in the rough and that they all develop the way that you would like. But in that middle stretch for D'Antonio, that was the golden age for modern-day Michigan State football. So on the offensive side, yes, that is a concern that he is not regional whatsoever. But as a college game grows, like, it is a more national game, and he can pick and prod throughout the nation, which is already what he's been doing in the recruiting portal, or the recruiting process. And then lending the defense to Joe Rossi, defensive coordinator who was at Minnesota. He's just really going to take the reins, and he is your Midwest guy. So as far as I know, Jonathan Smith, not really even going to touch the defensive side of the ball, and he's got the regional guy to do it. So just from, what a just whiplash we've been doing from Mark D'Antonio. Okay, we're going to do regional, 3 stars, our kind of guys, develop them. Then Mel Tucker, which is like, hey, if you're not a highly ranked 4-star, don't even step on this campus, Buster. And now we're just back to the D'Antonio days. It's like I hope this works somewhere in the middle, which there's reason to believe that it could. So.
I think there absolutely is. And the offseason for Michigan State so far has been solid. Top 20 transfer portal class in college football, headlined by Aiden Childs, who was billed as the quarterback of the future in Corvallis, is going to be that for the Spartans in East Lansing. We'll get to their schedule in just a moment, but Childs is the name that stands out. He's one of the most highly coveted transfer portal players this offseason. He goes with his head coach and OC. And by the way, I'm glad you brought up that defensive coordinator hire coming over from Minnesota, because Oregon State took a step forward and won 10 games for the first time since 2006 when Trent Bray, now Oregon State's head coach, was promoted to defensive coordinator and changed that side of the ball. So that's definitely an important aspect of this for Jonathan Smith when it comes to succeeding. But who else from the transfer portal or maybe the 2024 high school recruiting class has you excited about the prospects for this Michigan State team in 2024 outside of Aiden Childs, who's going to be the starting quarterback for the next couple of seasons?
Well, I'm going to stick with the Beavers program. Sorry to all the Corvallis listeners out there, but Jack Valling, tight end, he caught the most touchdowns of any tight end last year. And Michigan State is a program that hasn't seen a dynamic tight end probably since they were in the playoff in 2015 with Josiah Price. It has been a long time since we've seen a productive tight end here. So you get Jack Valling, a guy that is familiar with the system, just ready to rock and roll from day one. But also, hey, let's talk about, positions that lack sex appeal. The trenches, the interior offensive line, because Tanner Miller, hey, midseason All-American, second-team All-American on ESPN.com, I believe the site was. He transfers over here too. Michigan State had some interior offensive line issues last year. I mean, tell me that's just not an instant upgrade. So that's really nice. But also, it's not even the players that they pulled in from other schools, like Wayne Matthews, linebacker from Old Dominion. I'm fired up about him. But for Jonathan Smith, it was retaining the guys that entered the transfer portal just to see what else was out there. And some of them heard from big schools. Like, hey, Derek Harmon, he heard from Auburn, Ohio State, and Oregon. Picked Michigan State in the end. Simeon Barrow heard from a lot of schools. Gino Vandemark, interior offensive lineman, that they pretty much had his apartment all set up in Norman, Oklahoma for the Sooners program, but snatched him back last minute. So it's just a lot of stories like that where guys that are entering the transfer portal, they actually have other Power 5 offers, some of them high Power 5 offers, but bringing them back. So it's just been a really nice transfer portal season for Jonathan Smith. Better than I ever could have expected, considering how things have been here, and you couldn't knock any of these kids for wanting a fresh start somewhere else. After the last few weeks, Spencer, that was pretty bizarre how their college season went. So it's been nice damage control by Jonathan Smith.
So they go into a year in which they're frankly just trying to make a bowl game, and they have a schedule that could allow them to do that. Now, this is a 4-8 Michigan State team a year ago, but you've upgraded a quarterback. You've got a better player along the offensive line. You have some returning talent in there. The schedule is where this gets tricky for Jonathan Smith in year one. And look, it was a slow build at Corvallis. He's not going to be in a big hurry. He's going to build his program his way. That's what he did at Oregon State. It was very successful, and they were a dark horse Pac-12 and college football playoff contender in 2023. So I think that for Michigan State, you start off with 4 games. They could win all of them. I can't see them going winless here. They could win 2 or 3, and I think 3 would be great. Florida Atlantic, at Maryland, Louisiana, at Boston College.
Yep.
I see at least 2 wins there. If you win one of those Power 5 games, boy, the chances of making a bowl game are very, very real.
Incredibly real. No, it's great. And I'm also so excited to see Talia Tagovailoa of Maryland not get accepted for a 12th year of eligibility. I'm so sick of seeing him tune up Michigan State. So, yeah, Florida Atlantic, at Maryland, Louisiana, at Boston College, just like you said. And I know Boston College are coming off of a bowl season, and you should never discount a road game anywhere in college football.
Yep, agreed.
But I can name harder non-conference road games than Boston College, with all due respect to that program over there. So, yes, can you go 3-1 in that stretch? Well, certainly. Now, I don't know if you want to be the guy to say the next 4 games, because this is where it gets a little dicey.
I'll do it. Ohio State at home, at Oregon, hosting Iowa, at Michigan. That feels like 1-3 would be outstanding.
If there's a contract right now where I could sign for 1-3, absolutely. You got to have a feeling that it's going to be the Iowa game. That's the home game. yes, they've changed offensive coordinators, but I got to say they hired Tim Lester, a guy that wasn't necessarily lighting it up at Western Michigan. So how much of a step forward is that Hawkeye offense really going to take? So, yeah, just on a nice sunny October day in East Lansing, first team to 15 wins. Yeah, maybe. Probably.
Yeah.
So
that probably would be the most likely one. They closed with Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, and Rutgers. 3 of those 4 games are at home. I think a bowl season is within reach. I don't think it is a given, but I think that'd be a quality outcome for the Spartans in year 1 under Jonathan Smith. Matt Sheehan is at Sheehan_sports on X, formerly known as Twitter. Host of Locked On Spartans Monday through Friday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. His first, but not his last, appearance here on Locked On College Football. Matt, thanks so much for stopping by.
You're the man, Spencer. Thank you.
Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.